Hey, welcome back. Or, if you're new here, good to have you. I'm Agent Monahan, and this is the channel where we take on the topics that everyone talks about but never explains. History, science, economics, politics, how things actually work. If that sounds like your kind of channel, hit subscribe and tap the bell so you don't miss it. Now, let's get into it. For a decade, robotics had one trick, a backflip on YouTube every couple of years. The backflip got the funding, but the deployment never came. Then there came 2026. Boston Dynamics' Electric Atlas is sequencing car parts at a Hyundai factory in Georgia. Figure AI's humanoid spent nearly a year on the BMW line. And Agility Robotics' Digit has moved over 100,000 totes for a logistics firm called GXO. Robots are finally clocking in for real, which raises the obvious question: how worried should you actually be about your job? To answer that, you need to see what the robot industry actually is. Because when we say a robot, most people picture one thing, but in reality, there are three different types. Start with the oldest one: industrial robots. Factories have been welding car frames and assembling iPhones with big robotic arms for 40 years. 4 companies dominate this form of robotics technology: Fanuc, ABB, KUKA, and Yaskawa. Fanuc alone has over 1 million arms installed worldwide. ABB has more than 600,000. Fast, accurate, almost never broken, this boring form of robots quietly runs the global economy. But their limit also is as obvious: they can't do anything they weren't programmed for. Move the part 2 inches, and the arm will weld empty air with absolute confidence. Which is why engineers built a more flexible cousin, the Cobot, an arm safe enough to work next to a human without a cage. A Danish company called Universal Robots leads with over 75,000 cobots in 65 countries. Workshops use them for picking, packing, and assembly. They're now about 12% of U.S. robot installations, growing over 20% a year. Boring? Yes. Profitable? Also yes. Step outside the factory and you hit the second industry: service robots, built for one specific job in the real world. Waymo's robotaxis run over 500,000 paid rides a week across 20 cities. Intuitive Surgical's Da Vinci 5, with a new AI-assisted autonomy mode, sits in thousands of operating rooms. Amazon has over 1 million warehouse robots in its fulfillment centers. And service robots run America's largest sidewalk delivery fleet, dropping off burritos and pad thai. None of these are humanoid. They're shaped for the job, not for your selfies. The pad thai robot, by the way, is having a much better year than my last 3 investments. Which brings us to the third, the one everyone's actually arguing about: humanoid robots. The pitch is simple. The world is built for human bodies, so a human-shaped robot could do any human job. Right now, 4 serious Western players. Boston Dynamics, owned by Hyundai, makes Atlas, the most physically capable, with all-electric joints. Tesla makes Optimus, working in its own factories, targeting under $30,000 at scale. Figure AI makes Figure 02, the one on the BMW line, aiming for 1,000 units this year, and Agility Robotics makes Digit, the warehouse specialist. But the most interesting story isn't in California, it's in China. A company called Unitree shipped over 5,500 humanoids last year, more than every American competitor combined. Their target this year is 20,000 units. And they've crushed the price. A basic Unitree humanoid now starts around $25,000. 2 years ago, the average was $85,000. Now it's a third of that, and dropping. But the body is only half the problem. The other half is the brain. And this is where the industry quietly changed direction. For decades, every robot was hand-coded for one job. Then researchers realized they could train a robot the way you train ChatGPT, billions of examples, general skills. NVIDIA released a foundation model called Isaac GR0T, designed for humanoids. Almost every serious humanoid company on Earth is now building on top of it. That's why one robot can suddenly sort a bin, fold a shirt, and load a dishwasher without being reprogrammed. It's the closest thing robotics has had to a ChatGPT moment, which sounds incredible until you ask the people actually buying these things. There's still a huge gap between a robot demo and a robot doing 8 hours of useful work, reliably, for a year. Factory managers name 3 barriers. Cost. Most humanoids today run as much as a small car. Reliability. They still fall over on wet floors and need human babysitting. And trust. Would you put a 6-foot machine next to a worker, 8 hours a day with no safety record? Most companies say not yet. Frankly, half the humans in my office can't handle a wet floor. I'm not sure that's a fair benchmark. Still, the trajectory is clear. Goldman Sachs projects humanoid shipments hit around 760,000 units in 2027, almost 100 times today's volume. Morgan Stanley expects unit prices to fall to roughly $150,000 by 2028. But notice, both forecasts put the action inside factories and warehouses, not living rooms. The robot that folds your laundry is firmly in the early 2030s, so over the next 2 to 3 years expect this. Industrial and collaborative robots keep growing quietly. Service robots keep multiplying. More robotaxis, more surgical robots, more warehouse arms, and humanoids enter narrow controlled jobs, earning their reliability 1 shift at a time. So zoom out. The robot industry isn't 1 race, it's 3, at 3 different stages. Industrial is mature. Service is scaling. Humanoid is still learning to walk. The next 2 to 3 years won't be the year robots take over. They'll be the years we find out which category quietly crosses from demo to dependable. And it happens in factories and warehouses long before your living room. That's all for today. Hope that actually made sense of it. If you found it useful, hit subscribe and tap the bell so you catch the next one. Agent Monahan will see you soon. Ah.